He didn't look like anybody's notion of somebody who would tear apart young girls.
If you passed him in the street in the early 1970s, you might have noticed a smile before anything else. Polite, almost gentle. The kind of face you trust without realizing you're doing it. The kind of face America wasn't prepared to fear. At first, Ted Bundy did not seem like a monster. That's the most dangerous part. This is not just a story of a serial killer. It's a story of how evil learned how to blend in.
You have them being portrayed in the media as kind of glamorous figures.
He had groupies. He had these young women who just thought he was so handsome.
I'm not afraid of him. He just doesn't look like the type to kill somebody.
In the years after the optimism of the 1960s faded, America was tired. Trust was still a currency. Doors were unlocked. Hitchhiking was normal. College campuses felt safe in a way that's hard to imagine now. And into the softness stepped a young man named Ted Bundy. Law student, political volunteer, charming conversationalist. He would go on to shatter the country's sense of security forever.
Killer Theodore Bundy has escaped once again. One of the FBI's most wanted men.
He was charming, good-looking, smart. You sure you have the right guy?
Bundy was born in 1946, raised in a quiet household where nothing seemed obviously wrong. But beneath the surface, there were fractures. He grew up believing his mother was a sister. His grandparents were deeply unstable, and somewhere along the way, Ted learned something that would define his life. Appearances matter more than the truth.
A person of this type chooses his victim for a reason.
He talked in terms of a voice in his head, and this voice would start saying things about women.
You're leaving a person of this type hungry, unfulfilled, would also leave him with the obviously irrational belief that the next time he did it, he would be fulfilled. And the next time he did it, he would be fulfilled. Or the next time he did it, he would be fulfilled.
Friends later described him as intense but likable, intelligent, ambitious. He volunteered for political campaigns, worked crisis hotlines, talked about justice and public service. He wanted to be someone important, respected, seen, and for a while, he was.
In court, the urbane Theodore Bundy proclaims his innocence.
For I find it somewhat absurd to ask for mercy for something I did not do.
My name is Ted Bundy. I've never spoken to anybody about this. I am looking for an opportunity to tell the story.
Witnesses described the man with the cast on his arm, or a limp. Someone who asked for help. Someone who needed kindness. And the woman helped because that's what decent people do. Bundy understood something chillingly simple. Empathy can be weaponized.
Theodore Bundy has escaped, suspected of dozens of sex killings in Washington State, Idaho, Utah, and Colorado.
I think things are going to work out. That's about all I can say.
Bundy is acting as his own lawyer.
What is unusual to see is that many of the onlookers are women. Are you a little scared when you look at him?
He just doesn't look like the type to kill somebody.
He didn't overpower his victims at first. He disarmed them emotionally. He used their goodness against them. And when they're alone, when no one was watching them, he revealed who he truly was.
What's the right way for Ted Bundy to behave to make sure that people get the right impression? Am I going to jump up on the table? Am I going to scream? That's what I felt like doing.
By the time police began to connect the dots, Bundy had already learned to stay ahead of them. He followed the news closely, changed his method, crossed state lines, and every mistake the law enforcement made, every assumption, every delay, gave him more time. At one point, a woman even called the police to report him. She gave him his name, Ted Bundy. She said something felt wrong. They didn't act fast enough.
You're going to represent yourself, or you're going to get another attorney?
I'm staying with the man I know best right now, and that's me.
Experts today say Bundy forced America to confront an uncomfortable truth. Monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes they look like a guy next door. Sometimes they wear suits. Sometimes they smile.
Crucial pieces of evidence the state has linking Theodore Bundy to the slaying of the 2 Florida state co-eds is teeth marks found on the body of one of the co-eds. The prosecution claims that Bundy's teeth match those marks.
When Bundy was finally arrested, he then collapsed into guilt or shame. He leaned into the spotlight. He defended himself in court. He flirted with a journalist. He treated the trial like a performance, because to him, it was. And the country watched him. For the first time, a serial killer became a kind of a celebrity. Cameras followed him. People debated him. Some even admired him. Bundy fed on the attention, manipulating not just the individuals, but the entire nation.
Saying that some cases he would never talk about because the victims were too young. Countless abductions and attacks against girls and young women occurred within Bundy's potential area of activity after he came of age. He killed at a ferocious rate, murdering more than 20 women between 1974 and 1978.
Then came the escapes. Yes, plural. Bundy escaped custody twice, walked out of a courthouse, slipped through a jail ceiling. Each time, the shock wasn't just that he got away, but the system let him again. His final crimes committed in Florida were the most brutal, less calculated, more frantic, as if the mask was slipping, as if the performance was unraveling.
Bad rainy day, I decided to hitchhike. I thought that he was just a normal man. He showed me his ID. And I was just thinking I'm gonna get home and everything's gonna be fine. Little did I know it was gonna be my worst nightmare.
When he was finally sentenced to death, Bundy didn't confess out of remorse. He confessed for control. Naming victims gave him power. Withholding details gave him leverage. Even at the end, he wanted to be the one holding the strings. Just hours before his execution in 1989, he gave his last interview. Calm, soft-spoken, still trying to explain himself away, still trying to rewrite the story. But here's one thing Ted Bundy never understood. This was never his story. It belongs to the women whose lives were cut short, to their families who never recovered, to a generation that lost its innocence, to a country that learned that danger doesn't always come announced. Bundy didn't just kill people. He changed how Americans locked their doors, how parents warned their children, how strangers are trusted. Today, his name is shorthand for evil. But remembering him only as a monster misses the whole point. The real reason is more unsettling than that. Evil doesn't always arrive screaming. Sometimes it knocks politely, sometimes it asks for help, and sometimes it looks just like us. And that's why the story still matters, because the scariest monsters are the ones who remind us how easily we can be fooled, and how vigilant we have to be to protect one another. Ted Bundy is gone. The world he forced us to see is still here, and the question it leaves us with is uncomfortable, lingering, and deeply human. How well do we really know the people we trust?